Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another super cool looking TNG model to take a look at. Another brand new release from them, again, that I was able to acquire thanks to my good buddy Dino Mike Mac. And this time we've got another one that I was really quite excited to see. We have the Plesiosaurus. Now this one was exciting to me because I haven't had too many images come by that I had a chance to look at it from. You know, this isn't one of the figures that with the initial run was kind of promoted, and it wasn't until I had actually seen a few images also sent my way from Dino Mike Mac from a toy fair in Hong Kong where I even first found out about this figure, and then I didn't really have any good images until he sent me that booklet. I had one image to go off of, and we now finally have the figure here to take a look at, and I'm really excited about it because it's our first marine species from TNG as well, so that's definitely a very, very exciting thing. But as far as the packaging goes, you can see, again, we've got pretty much your standard when it comes to TNG. You've got the species name, you've got TNG right there, and then again, a really cool image there of the model right there on the front of the box. If you go over here to the side, you can see some information on the species that we have over here, and then on the back, pretty much the same thing as what we had seen on the front. So let's pop the box open and check it out. And here is our Plesiosaur, and it looks actually really cool. Like, very, very interesting. I see they've definitely taken like some artistic liberties with the figure overall, but it's got a very unique, very interesting coloration to it that I think looks quite naturalistic and is very nicely applied, and also has a pretty cool looking sculpt overall. Very interesting to see that they, you know, a lot of these TNG figures seem to be influenced from other companies that are out, mostly like, you know, Rebor, Papo, PNSO, stuff like that. I kind of feel like maybe this one was influenced from the Papo Plesiosaur because it sort of has kind of a similar look to it, but at the same time definitely has a healthy dose of TNG's own originality. But it does look pretty cool here at first glance, and I'm very excited to get a closer look at this one with you guys, so let's jump to it right now. So, starting up here at the head sculpt of our Plesiosaurus, you can see some really nice skin texture that we have going on up here. You can also see the nostrils, as well as some gorgeous paintwork. I love the variations of blues that we have on here, but we also have like some really subtle additions of like white sort of striping. You can see it a little bit more in a vibrant way here running up the neck, but here in the face, it's there, but still applied in a super subtle sort of a way. There's also some darkening there around the eye as far as a darker tone goes, which I also like. You can see the eyes painted with a yellow, given a nice black pupil, also has sort of a glossy look to it, and the skin texture up here on the back of the head, the top of the head, also looks really nice. We do have an articulated jaw for the figure, which is also super cool. You can see the teeth are all sculpted individually. They look pretty decent. There's some variation of color to them because you can see they've applied like a brown and then painted the white over that so that it kind of gives a little bit of extra color to the teeth of the Plesiosaur, which definitely looks cool. You can see we've got a nice naturalistic tone of color there for the inside of the mouth. There's also a tongue sculpted out in there, and some decent detail there, yeah. Oh, absolutely, there we go. We can see what the detail looks like on the inside of the mouth, on the upper side as well. And the jaw works really smoothly. You can see it works and stays exactly where you put it. So definitely a really cool addition to a model like this. We don't get too many Plesiosaur models with articulated jaws. As you begin to move down the course of the neck, you see more really nice skin texture as well as some more nice paintwork. And I love the fact that this light tone here, kind of like a white sort of stripes up from the underside up into the darker tones here of the blue. And you have this nice kind of light blue, but you also have these darker tones that sort of kind of stripe down here along the course of the neck, which looks really cool. And then you also have those whites that kind of squiggle and stripe through as well, just adding, you know, quite a bit of extra color variation to the figure. You can also see almost like a fin-like area here picking up on the back of the neck of the Plesiosaur, which looks pretty cool. And I also just noticed that you can see the ears there on the back of the Plesiosaur as well. But as you continue to move down the course of the neck, you've got a really nice kind of elegant curve to the neck there. Very, you know, classic sea monster-ish as far as that goes. As you lead down here into the body of our plesiosaur, you can see more of those darker tones kind of like sporadically showing up here through the course of the body. You can also see kind of like a row of scoots moving along the side of the upper part here of the plesiosaur. That's another very interesting addition to this model. You can very much so clearly see that TNG kind of put their own little spin on this. And then again, up here on the top, you see kind of like a fin-like appearance moving along the back of the plesiosaur, similar to that brief area that we had seen it on the back of the neck, but it's quite a bit larger here, quite a bit more visible and obvious here, moving along the spinal column of the plesiosaur. And it has a similar style as far as the coloration goes to what we see there moving down the course of the neck, with the variations of whites, the darker tones, the blues, all sorts of variation of color back there, which looks really cool. And you can again see the skin texture looks really nice as you move through the course of the body. As you lead down here into the flipper, you can see that we've got some nice creasing there as the body reaches into the flipper there, and as we move out into the flipper, you can see the sculpting of that as well looks really nice. And I like that we kind of transition to a lighter tone as we move further out there into that flipper. And if we take a look at the underside, you can see it's just that white coloration down here, but there are some slight hints of like pinkish tones there on the underneath as well. And you can even see a little bit more of it, I think, running along the center of the stomach of the plesiosaur. But as you move back here into the stomach, you can see again all sorts of variation of color in this part here of the plesiosaur, as we have again all the tones of color we had seen moving down the course of the neck, but it doesn't seem like there's any rhyme or reason as far as the design goes down here. It's just kind of all over the place, and I think that looks really cool as well. As we move back here into the rear flipper, you can again see more really nice looking skin detail here as we lead down into the flipper, and then as you lead out, you can see again how we transition back to that lighter tone. You can also actually see some hints of green, which I didn't notice on the first flipper, but now that I look back at it, yeah, it is there, so I didn't actually notice that right there. But some pretty cool, again, color variation. TNG definitely does a great job as far as the paint apps of their figures. No laziness when it comes to the paint apps. And as you move out here into the tail, you can again see a really nice looking tail sculpt, nice looking skin texture, and yet again, quite a bit more color variation, similar to the style that we've seen through the course of pretty much the entire plesiosaur. And then if we turn it around, you're not really going to see a whole lot of difference on this side because the body primarily is pretty straightforward. You know, there's not a whole lot going on as far as the positioning goes. The flippers are kind of in the same position, almost looks like it's just kind of gliding through the water. So you don't see a whole lot of difference, maybe like a slight turn to the tail there, maybe ever so slightly different positioning for the flippers themselves. But as you move up into the neck, you can see the neck definitely turns away from us slightly. Not a whole lot, but it does have a slight right turn to the neck. All of the sculpt and all of the paintwork and everything over here on this side, though, looks just as nice, just as precise as what we had seen on the initial side. So absolutely gorgeous, if you ask me, on both sides. And again, I actually quite like the artistic liberties they've taken with this one. I think it turned out pretty cool. Definitely gives it a very unique and very different appearance than your average plesiosaur, and with really nice paint apps on top of everything. As far as a size goes on our plesiosaur, for a length, you are looking at almost like 10 inches on the dot, maybe a little bit over, or about 25.5 centimeters, closing in on 26, but not quite. And then for a height, you're looking at the highest point would probably be the back of the neck, just shy of about 3.5 inches, or around 9 centimeters, maybe a little under. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our TNG Plesiosaur. And you can see it's got a pretty decent size, but it's not too much bigger than, you know, your average TNG figures. Seems like most of the TNG line is in a similar size range, and I think you could probably tell the same thing here with the Plesiosaur. Definitely a little bit longer, of course, but kind of makes me hope and pray that maybe we'll get a sauropod from TNG at some point. That would be awesome. We've also got a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus here stepping in for another comparison next to our Plesiosaur, as well as the Collect A Deluxe Dimetrodon, Safari LTD Tyrannus, and Schleich Diabloceratops stepping in as well for a comparison. Then when it comes to some TNG comparisons, we have their Woolly Mammoth here stepping up next to the Plesiosaur, as well as the Carnotaurus standing in here for a comparison, a figure that I've just recently reviewed from TNG. There is also the TNG Plesiosaurus, another figure that has come out fairly recently from TNG. Definitely nothing similar species-wise in the line currently that I have to compare with the Plesiosaur. But then when it comes to a pretty similar figure, again, like I had stated, we have the Papo version of the Plesiosaur next to the TNG version. And I feel like you could definitely see some similarities. Not really a whole lot, but at least maybe some inspiration with the Papo version, though in my opinion I definitely like the TNG version better. I'm a fan of the Papo one too, don't get me wrong, but the TNG version, even though again it's definitely not your most accurate version of a Plesiosaur and more so kind of resembles like what I would expect to see as like a sea monster version of a Plesiosaur in a film, you know, an older dinosaur movie or something, I still just like that one. I think the overall quality's a little nicer and the paint job's a little nicer. But as a whole, you can see they're pretty similar in size, with the TNG version being just a tad larger. And then for one final comparison, and just because I'm really excited that I only recently got this figure into my collection, we have the Safari Ltd. Elasmosaurus. This is a figure that I actually did not have, and I've been meaning to pick up for so long, and it was only until recently I went to an aquarium with my family and saw that it was there on the shelf at the gift shop, so I was like, yep, definitely grabbing it now, because why wouldn't I? But here is a comparison next to that figure as well, if this is one that you might happen to have in your collection. So this brand new TNG Plesiosaurus is definitely another really cool figure from them, and I think at this point we can definitely see that they don't stick to one specific style, because we've had Jurassic Park style dinosaurs, we've had more accurate interpretations, we've also had prehistoric mammals that have all been pretty accurate, but then we have kind of stylized versions of, you know, prehistoric creatures like this Plesiosaur. So they're kind of all over the place, and I think at this point we can safely say they're just basically making what they like and what they think is fun, and I can fully appreciate that. I like the fact that they just kind of mix it up and give everybody the best of pretty much every world that they could possibly want to dive into. And this Plesiosaur is, again, really quite cool. I love the appearance to it. The sculpt is very highly detailed, as TNG usually always has very highly detailed models. It's got a pretty cool pose for it here, and similar, I would say, as far as the pose goes, to the Papo version of the Plesiosaur, with the head kind of lifting up, and it would definitely make for a really cool kind of a diorama with it sticking its head up out of the water or something like that. That would definitely be a great way to display this. But on top of that, I love the fact that they've got like their own individuality with this figure, with that kind of fin-like appearance moving down the back, those scoots moving down, a little bit of fin-like appearance up there on the back of the neck as well, and I just think it looks really neat, very unique, and the paint job is fantastic. I love the tones of color used on this. It's all super nice and naturally applied as far as the paint job goes. Everything looks extremely naturalistic and lifelike as far as the coloration goes, if you ask me. And again, some nice realism, especially when you look at the eyes and how nice and precise they're painted, the nice gloss coat you've got on them, and you've got an articulated jaw on top of everything, which is also really cool. So if you are interested in this, this is another one of those figures where I unfortunately am not entirely sure where you can grab it, because I had Dino Mike Max score this one for me, but if you happen to run into it, I definitely recommend grabbing it. If I happen to find a link for it anytime soon on like AliExpress or eBay or somewhere that we can purchase this stuff, I will definitely update the description and add it there for you guys. One way or another, definitely a recommendation from me, so let me know in the comments section what you guys think, and also like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.